And peace and love. How you doing there?
Always, man. Honor and a pleasure to have this opportunity to chop it up with you, man.
Oh, the honor is mine, good brother. Thanks for having me on such a short notice.
Absolutely, man. Last time I spoke to you was about 3 years ago, the last time you were in Fort Lauderdale.
Absolutely. 3 years, brother. I'm back. This is my 10-year anniversary tomorrow.
Happy 10-year anniversary. Right off the rip, let's talk about tomorrow. Let's talk about the event tomorrow.
Absolutely. Tomorrow is going to be the exact date of my very first lecture in Fort Lauderdale on December the 10th of 2010. I was invited to Fort Lauderdale for the first time by the Bobo Shanti Rastafari. They were having a United Nations Human Rights Day forum. And as a caveat, which they all are in the Bobo Shanti camp, they asked me to come down and keynote it. I had never been to Fort Lauderdale. I don't even know if I ever heard of Fort Lauderdale. But I came December 10th, 2010. It was nothing but love that day. I've been back several times, several events. I had relationships with some of the school districts around. I've done trainings, professional developments for teachers. You know, when I look back over my 10 years of building a relationship with the community here in Fort Lauderdale, I've done a lot of things here that I haven't had a chance to do in other cities. Like, you know, most of the time it's just community.
Yeah.
But here, I'm able to let my voice be heard on the school, within the school systems as well. And I'm speaking also around Hollywood, not only the 10-year anniversary, but I wanted to celebrate that date by releasing my new book, Black Parent Advocate, The Art of War for Dealing with America's Public and Charter Schools. It is a Bible for Black parents. It follows up on my first book, Psychoacademic Holocaust, but with Black Parent Advocate, we go deeper. So I'm giving parents example letters that they can use with the schools. If the school want to test your kid for special ed, this is what you say. If they want you to put them on medicine, this is what you say. If you don't agree with the psychological evaluation, this is what you say. If you don't think your child is intellectually disabled or learning disabled, this is what you say. I also teach them how to review a psychological evaluation report. I teach them how to review the IEP. So this book here, I'm more proud of this book than the first book because I'm giving them so much more information. This book over 550 pages. So I call it the Black Parent Bible.
Wow. Well, excuse me. The last time that we spoke, I remember I was telling you that I had an incident where my son was on Ritalin, and
Yes.
then I seen how he reacted to that, and I got him off of that real quick, and you discussed that with me. I want to go right in about but I should say before I go right in about the book and stuff surrounding it, I want to go back to how you got started. That, you know, I've been always fascinated about that. I've seen a bunch of interviews with you and on the Breakfast Club and stuff like that, but I would like to do a little history on you in the sense of like, how did you get involved with all of this? What shaped, what changed your life? What kind of put you in that direction to hold this position that you have to educate others about these things?
I would say that 4 steps. I would break it into 4 steps. Step number one was a Black history class that I had in elementary school in North Philadelphia, fourth and fifth grade elementary school. The teacher was Mrs. Green, who I coincidentally ran into a few years ago for the first time since fifth grade. But she lit a spark in me. I believe I was born to do the work that I do, and I believe the Black history class was simply my introduction into it, because the school district of Philadelphia did not have a mandatory Black history class. This was something that my school particularly chose to do. So this wasn't even part of the curriculum.
Wow.
They just do this. Yes, sir. And so we had fourth and fifth grade Black history class, which coincidentally was the beginning of my public speaking career, because there was a Black History Month oratorical contest both years, and I won first place both years, and I haven't shut up since. Okay, so then in the sixth grade, my father took me to my first family reunion, which was in Baltimore, Maryland. And we're walking through the back of a church where one of the family reunion activities were. And I see all this Frederick Douglass stuff, Frederick Douglass's clothes, his Bible, his pictures. And I asked my father, why is all this Frederick Douglass stuff here? And of course, I learned about him in Black history class. And my father said, because you're related to him. And so you have your Black history 4th and 5th, you have your Frederick Douglass introduction in the 6th grade. And to be honest with you, I think the rest was history. However, it gets a little deeper because the elementary school that I attended, where I had the Black history class, is literally 4 blocks away from the Marcus Garvey UNIA ACL. So check this out now. You're looking at 9 and 10 years old in the 4th grade, right? Then you come around the corner, but now instead of being 10, I'm 23. So 13 years later, I find Garveyism in North Philadelphia, which is right next to the sneaker store my mother been buying my sneakers at since I was a kid. So look at this.
That's amazing.
So the oratorical career begins in elementary school, and then you got to forgive that light. Let me use my phone. And then right around the corner, I get introduced to Garveyism, and it was inside of the UNIA that I got my first public speaking events. Those were the first ones. So I would speak in New York. I went to Georgia for the first time with the UNIA, so forth and so on. And so the UNIA actually gave birth to my public speaking career,
Wow.
And then when I left I never left the UNIA, but I resigned as Minister of Education. And when I resigned as Minister of Education, I started a lecture series at the African American Museum in Philadelphia. So now I'm about 30 years old. So 10 years old was the elementary school, 23 years old was the UNIA. I leave the UNIA as a leader, still a member, and then the lecture series at the African American Museum in downtown Philadelphia. And that was pretty much the steps between the UNIA and the African American Museum, which I did it for free, by the way. I did it for free lecture series, something for the community, and my name just spread. Now, let me give you the icing on the cake. So step 1 is elementary, step 2 is UNIA, step 3 is the African American Museum of Philadelphia, step 4 is an invitation to come to Chicago to speak on public access TV. Brother by the name of Dawa Yisrael, Hebrew brother. That was September 18th, 2010. I flew to Chicago, did the interview. He gave me a copy of the DVD. And 3 weeks later, on October the 30th, I speak in Harlem, New York for the first time ever. I blew it out the water. I had copies of the Chicago interview, and literally within about 24 hours, I was like a household name. It came so fast, I almost got swept up in the Umar mix because I was the new kid on the block. Nobody knew me. He's a school psychologist, which is rather unique for an African-American male. And that plus the Frederick Douglass, plus the Garvey background, I really believe the universe just put me out there, brother. I really believe it.
And it's been an amazing 10 years since.
Yes. Oh my God. A lot of mostly ups, a few downs. But what makes the roller coaster ride so enjoyable is you got to have the peaks with the valleys and the valleys with the peaks.
Big facts. Big facts.
I don't regret anything that happened these 10 years. It's been a lot of love. Of course, with success comes jealousy and envy. So I do have a little entourage of trolls who try to sabotage the work, but we were really blessed, brother. In February of last year, 2019, we purchased the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, or the school that is now the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, Wilmington, Delaware. We got 4 buildings, 2 schools, 2 gyms, and we're trying to get the Garvey building done. The electricians are working as we speak. I'm waiting on one of these HVAC contractors to give me a good proposal that I can live with financially. Our goal now, my brother, is to have the Marcus Garvey side of the street, which is 3 buildings. On the Marcus Garvey side of the street is the Nat Turner Gymnasium, the Marcus Garvey Elementary School. Then we have a third 3-room building that I don't know what I'm gonna do with yet because there's so many possibilities. And then on the Frederick Douglass side of the street, we just have the gigantic high school. So we're trying to have the Marcus Garvey side of the street renovated, before the weather breaks. That's the goal.
Do you think people understand the work that goes into, you know, putting things together? Because I'm on the same kind of stroll. I'm on the same road that you're traveling on, just doing things in the community and trying to make things happen.
Yes.
And you know, when you talk about people criticizing you in certain things, because I was following you and I did see people were trying to criticize, you know, when your school's opening. But like my whole thing was like, who gives a shit? Like, let's focus on, you know, what the brother's saying, what he's trying to do, and when it comes about, it comes about. These things are not magical. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Everything is a process. It takes a time, you know, it takes, you know, time to come about.
Yes.
What pressures were you feeling, and what how do you want to speak to that? Because I did remember that, but you know, my position, like I said, was like, come on, man, like, you know, let's focus on what you're saying and how we
Yeah.
can come together. And I was a little annoyed by seeing, you know, some brothers and sisters who like, jumping on the division part, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Here's what I believe, honestly. And I say this in all humility. For the past 10 years, I've probably been the #1 Black scholar in the world. I've definitely been the most requested Black scholar in the world. There's no other scholar, mainstream or conscious, who has received the type of love and the amount of invitations to speak all over the world like I have. Nobody. Okay. And that brought a lot of envy. When I decided to open up a school, that envy intensified because a lot of the detractors looked at it and said, he's already on top. He's already on top just with his speaking and saving the children. If he get this school open, you know what I mean? He
Yeah,
gonna
that's
be
it.
a legend because he already runs the conscious thing. There's no name above mine. No name above mine. And I say that in humility, but it's the truth. So if he get this school open, how that's gonna make the rest of us look who don't do nothing but sit on YouTube and make videos? I honestly believe, my brother, that they want me to fail so that they don't get held accountable and asked to do more themselves. I mean, look at Black consciousness, my brother. It's all YouTube. It's nothing but videos, summer events, documentaries. Nobody's building no institutions, you see. So with me, I'm trying to change the trajectory. Let's get into nation building. Let's get into institution building. And once this school gets open and it was built from the ground up, community dollars, people are going to automatically look to him and look to her and look to him and look to her and say, Dr. Umar did a school from the ground without a penny to start. This brother got 4 buildings and 2 schools. Now what you going to do? Now what you going to do? So in order to avoid accountability to the community, they need me to fail, brother. They need me to fail so they're not expected to do more. That is the bottom line. And associated with that is the jealousy that came from the fact that the people had me raise more than $750,000 for this project. See, there was a lot of other brothers and sisters in the conscious community who had GoFundMes. They had crowdfunding campaigns, but they were not trying to build institutions. They were raising money for documentaries, to make money for themselves. They was raising money to buy cars. Nothing was for the people. This is for the people. That explains why the people supported me. But all they can see is the dollars and cents. All they can see is, I wish I had the $750,000. That's how they're looking at it. They're not looking at it like this isn't going into this brother's pocket. This is going into our young men, our boys. They don't see it that way. They see everything as a competition. He raised way more money than the rest of us put together. If he opens this school, we're going to be asked to do more. We're going to look like hypocrites. We got to stop him. That's what this is all about.
Well, thank you for addressing that, because I really, you know, it weighed on me for a couple years, and I'm happy I had the opportunity for you to kind of just speak on that specifically. You know what I mean? Because I looked at it as an opportunity of somebody trying to, like, you know, judge you and kind of pull you down, and I didn't allow it to kind of move me. I was just focused on your movement. Talking about your movement, could you speak about your movement? I don't know if I have the words down correctly. I remember it's Pan-African ism. Can you talk about that?
Revolutionary Pan-African nationalism
Thank you.
is philosophy, you know, which is Garveyism adapted to the modern era. You understand? So everything that the Honorable Marcus Garvey taught, and by the way, I want to give condolences to the family of Marcus Garvey, because his eldest son, the Honorable Marcus Garvey Jr., passed away right here in Florida yesterday, December the 8th, the eldest son of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, whose name is also Marcus Garvey, who took over the leadership of his father's organization for many years. He died yesterday in Florida. So condolences to the Garvey family, condolences to his children, his grandchildren, his younger brother, Dr. Julius Garvey, who I spoke with here in Fort Lauderdale at one of the roster programs. He's a surgeon up in New York, so he's still alive and well and doing well. Condolences to Jamaica, the Jamaica family, but we lost a great Pan-Africanist yesterday. So, that's my legacy. I'm still pushing the Garvey program. I believe it's the only solution for African people, a complete, total international solidarity. Okay, we do not condone tribalism of any kind. As you know, there's organizations propping up in the United States that push a tribalism, a African-American exclusivity, if you would. This trend to separate ourselves from other Africans in the diaspora so we don't have to share none of the crumbs we get from the master's table with our other family around the world, totally ridiculous. We don't ascribe to any of that. We are Pan-Africanists, and Pan-Africanism can be summed up in 3 points, and Garveyism is the highest stage of it. Point number 1, we are one family. Whether you in Cuba speaking Spanish or Brazil speaking Portuguese or South Florida speaking Ebonics, or if you in London speaking the Queen's English, or you in South Africa speaking Zulu, or you in Yoruba land speaking Igbo, one family. One family. It doesn't matter what religion, it doesn't matter what flag, you understand? It doesn't matter what nationality, what language, we are one family. That's the number 1 principle. We identify as African family first. Nothing is more important than being African. No religion, no profession, no ethnicity, nothing. African family first. And number 2, as Africa goes, so goes all African people. Now, obviously, this is a very controversial tenet because many Africans in the diaspora, as you know, they try to go out of their way to disassociate with Africa as a means of being accepted by the white man. So we will go out of our way. I'm not black. I ain't leave nothing in Africa. They didn't want us. They sold us, all these excuses. But as Africa goes, we go. The African American will never be free until Africa is free. The African Caribbean, the African South American, the African in Africa, the African Australian, nobody will be free until Africa's free. We keep trying to get free without bringing the motherland into freedom. As the mother goes, so goes her children. There is no liberation for Black people anywhere in this world without liberation for the continent. You see that with other people. Israel, until the European Jew had Israel, European Jews were not free. Until Chinese had a strong and powerful China, Chinese were not free. Until East Indians had a strong and powerful India, they were not free. You see this. Everybody gets respect based on the level of respect that is paid to their international homeland. And point number 3, and there's many, but we'll just do 3. The third one will be African self-determination. That means whatever is to be done for Black people is to be done by Black people. There is no non-African participation in our work. There's no African money, no non-African money in our work. For example, as you know, one of the criticisms I've received regarding the FDMD school campaign has been the fact that I refuse to take grants, I refuse to take loans, I refuse to take donations from non-Africans, and most of all, I refuse to open up a charter school. Most people are saying, your former charter school principal, your former charter school vice principal, why not just get a charter? You know why? Because you'll end up just like the charter school that we now own ended up. The school we purchased was a Black-owned charter school, but they were sabotaged out of existence by white power. Black charter schools all over America are sabotaged out of existence by white power. If you take his money, he controls your destiny. It's harder to do it independent, but this is the only way we own it. This is the only way we control it. Yes, it's hard building the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy. The biggest problem people have with me, my brother, is the fact that I won't take the easy way out. See, by not taking the easy way out, I'm obligating Black people to support me financially. They don't want to do that. We're not used to building all Black institutions. We're not used to using our money to build community infrastructure. We're used to depending on the white man. And because Dr. Umar doesn't want to depend on the white man for loans and grants, the community is mad because I'm holding everybody responsible and accountable towards helping me bring this school into fruition.
That's what's up. Talking about that, just to segue into like the Black Lives Matter. Since we spoke, obviously
Mhm.
3 years ago, a lot has happened, and
Mhm.
I would really like your. I know it's like it's a lot, but based on the Black Lives Matter movement, everything that you've seen happen, what do you take of all of this that's happening right now, and how people are trying to make these changes and be inclusive of Black people in terms of things, and like how are you looking at all of this?
When I reflect upon the 2020 protest for justice that was initiated with the assassinations of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, I'm very disappointed in us in the way we conducted business. There were three mistakes we made with the 2020 protest for justice. First of all, let's put this in context. The 2020 protests for justice were the most comprehensive, protracted protests that America has seen since the Dr. King assassination protests. That's 50 years since the Black issue forced media to make it its number one priority. We have not been the number one topic of discussion since Dr. King, but we fumbled it, my brother. We wasted it. These are the three mistakes we made. Mistake number one, it was not an all Black struggle. It was not an all Black protest. It was multicultural. That was the biggest mistake we made. If you notice, we got drowned out by the white protesters. There was some statistics that came out that said Black protesters was only about 1 in 5. We were only 1 in 5 because we have a problem being Black. We have a problem making things exclusively Black. We're the only people in America who have a problem standing alone. Chinese stand alone, East Indians stand alone, Arabs, Anglo-Saxons, European Jews, Black people feel uncomfortable standing alone. And one of the reasons why we feel uncomfortable standing alone is because we know we're not really wanted. We know that nobody wants to be bothered with us. So to ease our anxiety, we like to include everybody in. And in doing that, we allow white people to redirect the focus, redirect the narrative, and determine the agenda. So number one, it should have been an all Black protest. If white people wanted to help, we could have simply told them, you can have your own protests on our behalf, but you cannot join ours. The contradiction of the white protester, my brother, is the fact that if they are really serious about helping Black people, then they should not have been marching with Black people. White people are connected to the hands of power. White people are connected to the resources. White people are connected to the banks. They're connected to the criminal justice system. They're connected to the judges. You don't need to march in a ghetto with Black people. What you need to do is go have a conversation with your neighbors. Go have a conversation with your white elected officials. Go have a conversation with your family members who are involved in systematic oppression of Black people. In other words, if you and I have the power, why are we marching with the poor people? If we have the power, we should be talking to the people who have the power. But we want to go march with Black people to make it look like we care when we really don't. So number one, we should have never integrated the march. That's number one. White people outnumber Black people 1-5. White people outnumber Black people 1-5. So if you let them in and you don't control how many of them in, they automatically take over your movement. So that's number one. Number two, there was no clear agenda. There was no clear agenda. Okay, I understand. We're protesting against police genocide. I understand we're protesting against racial injustice. But guess what? You have to articulate the solutions in a practical manner so they can be implemented as desired. When you say we want police genocide to stop, you have to articulate what the solution is. We want police to be tried with a hate crime whenever they killed an unarmed Black person. We did not say that. You understand? We want the police to look just like the community that they police. We didn't say that. You understand? We did not articulate the solutions to address police genocide. And since we had the media focused on us for about what, 6 weeks, we could have articulated more. We didn't talk about criminal justice in a solutions-based way. We didn't talk about miseducation in a solutions-based way. We didn't talk about gentrification in a solutions-based way. We didn't talk about access to wealth in a solutions-based way. We basically wasted, my brother. We wasted 6 weeks being the most important topic in the media, but because we had no agenda and because the march was integrated and multicultural, we lost an opportunity for systematic change to take place. Number 3, there was no spokespersons. There were no official spokespersons that we chose, nor could they have been because we're so disorganized as a people. There were no official spokespersons to articulate our agenda, our demands, our needs to the power structure. So what happens when oppressed people don't have a spokesperson? And it doesn't have to be one, it could have been a cadre of them, but you needed a mouthpiece. There was no mouthpiece. So guess what? Al Sharpton became the mouthpiece. Benjamin Crump became the mouthpiece. Nancy Pelosi became the mouthpiece. The Democratic Party became the mouthpiece. And because we didn't control the movement, my brother, that whole thing got exploited in the interests of the Democratic ticket for the presidential elections.
Great points.
We do not learn from our history. See,
is it our fault though, Dr. Umar?
Yes, brother. Yes, because we already know their game. We know what the white folks do. One thing you got to give white people, they have been consistent for 400 years. My brother, they have not taken a break from systematic oppression and extermination of African people in America for 400 years. So how can you keep making mistakes when your oppressor has been consistent? Yes. Now let me be clear.
But listen, when you I should have worded it differently. When you look at just brainwashing and all the different things that it's not like we are walking around here with an open mind and conscience and missed out on that. There's a lot of things that have been put into our communities, a lot of things going on that kind of help aid and abet to this way of thinking.
I agree, but here's where the buck has to stop though.
Okay.
Racism is our number one problem, and the white man is the number one problem. No issue there. But he's not going to solve the problems that he creates. It is the victim's job to solve the problems that his oppressor creates for him. You would agree with that? Yes. Right. It's the victim's job. So if it is the victim's job to solve the problems that his oppressor creates for him, with us being a $2 trillion economy, with us being the richest group of Africans in the world, with us being the 10th most powerful economic community in the world, how can we make excuses for why our children don't have their own schools yet? How can we make excuses why we don't have our own hospitals and supermarkets? How can we make excuses we don't have our own shipping lines and distribution lines? I know the white man got his foot on our neck, but I also know we're strong enough to remove that foot. The problem is we have gotten so comfortable being second-class citizens, my brother. We have gotten so comfortable being second-class citizens that we're willing to accept the abuse as a right to exist in the white man's reality. I say this, most Black people do not want to be free. We do not want to be free.
I would agree with you,
my brother.
I would agree with you.
We don't want to be free, brother.
I would agree with you. I think another part of it too is taking our alpha males, our leaders, our athletes, our artists, and kind of using them as the example. Like if these are the people we're looking up to and they have sedated their minds to believe like, hey, if you jewelry and all these things hyping up on your own people. I've always had an issue with that. I work on a hip hop station, my brother. And I've always had an issue with athletes and rappers who make all this money, however they do, and then they show off on their very own people and do nothing to uplift, do nothing to provide opportunity, and none of these things.
And it gets worse now. It gets worse now because there is no longer an intellectual elite that can control the thinking and behavior of the poor Black masses. Let me say that again. There is no longer an intellectual elite, a Negro aristocracy, a Black bourgeoisie that can control the thinking and behavior of the poor Black masses. You don't have W.E.B. Du Bois anymore. You understand? You don't have the Jesse Jacksons. He's not the prominent person he was before. You don't have bourgeoisies that can control the young Blacks. So now they're going to switch out the Black aristocracy for an entertainment aristocracy.
Yes.
So now the football players, the basketball players, the rappers, the actors, the singers are your new Black bourgeoisie. And that's more dangerous than the intellectual elite, my brother. And I'll tell you why. The reason it's more dangerous because these people are more miseducated, right? Most of them do not have a solid political education.
Yep.
They are also more beholden to the power structure than the academic elite were. Okay. They have less commitment to Black people, you see. And on top of that, as you said, their culture is totally parasitic and counter to the direction Black people need to go in. But the reason the white man loves using the entertainment elite in place of the academic elite is because these are the people our children naturally gravitate to. Yeah. These are the people our children naturally want to emulate. Our children didn't want to be Jesse Jackson. Our children don't want to be Al Sharpton, but they want to be these basketball players. They want to be these rappers. They want to be these actors. And so by the sheer power of the image and the influence of the entertainer, our children will not be able to evaluate them effectively to say that I might like him as a basketball player, but as a spokesman and as a leader, he's a total coon. They don't have the political proficiency to be able to do that. So in essence, what I'm saying to you, we're going to be worse off with the entertainer as our spokesperson than we were with the academic elite.
Absolutely. Dr. Umar, I could talk to you for hours upon hours, and, you know, I'm respectful of your time. I know you, I see you in your rental, and I'm sure you want to, you know, get into a nice warm bed before your appearance tomorrow. I want to give you an opportunity just to talk about the book once again, and just let everybody know where you're going to be tomorrow. And thank you once again for this opportunity, man.
Thank you, brother. Tomorrow I will be, Dr. Umar Johnson is here to celebrate my 10-year anniversary, Fort Lauderdale, 10 long years. I appreciate you, South Florida. I love you. And I will be at the Black-owned Studio 510. That is Black-owned Studio 510 at 4510 North University Drive. 4510 North University Drive. It is the 510 studio, Studio 510. And we will be there tomorrow, Thursday, December the 10th, from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. It is absolutely free. There is no cost. You can come talk to me, have a conversation, take a picture, ask questions. If you're having problems with your children, please bring those problems to me. It is a drop-in clinic, mental health and education for parents. And if you choose to buy the book will be there for you, credit card, cash, or cash app. I recommend every parent in Florida get the book, my brother. There's no book like this. 550 plus pages, everything you need to know and everything you need to do. Everything you need to know and everything you need to do. Black Parent Advocate tomorrow. It's only $50 tomorrow, but if you order the book on my website, it's $70. So if you're able to get out tomorrow, come get it. Come get it signed. I'm looking forward to seeing all my brothers and sisters. It's been 3 long years, and I just hope Fort Lauderdale and all of South Florida comes out and meets and greets your brother tomorrow on the occasion of my 10-year anniversary, Fort Lauderdale. Looking forward to it. And
absolutely.
Let me, brother, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858, or drumarjohnson.com. You can text me for the flyer or any other information if you need it.
Well, welcome back. We're happy to have you back, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you for
Yes.
all the knowledge that you spread and encouragement that you try to give Black people all over the world. You know,
Yes.
and have them understand their power, their strength, and I think your direction of education and dealing with the kids is genius in the sense that if we do not know who we are, we will never know where we're going. So
Absolutely.
I really appreciate, everything that you're doing, and I wish you all the best.
Oh man, thank you, my brother. Thanks again for the short notice interview. South Florida tomorrow. Let's do it. Studio 510.
All right, Dr. Umar Johnson.
All right, brother. Black Power.
All right, Black Power, brother.